A well-landscaped yard can completely transform a home, but it can also come with a pretty hefty price tag. From lawn care and gardens to patios, fences, full backyard makeovers, landscaping projects can range from a simple weekend upgrade to a major investment. So what's a fair amount to spend on your outdoor space? On this week's edition on how much things should cost, we're taking a look at the cost of landscaping. Let's head over now to Paul Henry Danylewich, owner of Paul Henry Landscaping. Paul Henry, welcome to the program.
Yes, thanks for having me. I appreciate being on.
So let's talk about the projects you get, because it seems, everyone's different and everyone's lawn is different. So how do you tackle that question on how much people should be spending on their lawn care and landscaping?
Well, we're just out there to, meet people's needs. Some people want to put a lot of money in the property. Some people, unfortunately, they don't think things out. I think one of the biggest things is, people see pictures in magazines and they're on the internet and they see pretty landscaped yards, but I think they need to realize that it's not just the upfront cost of doing a job, putting in new sod, putting in a nice patio, putting in fancy shrubbery. It's there's the bigger cost is on the maintenance side of it. I mean, if somebody puts in new sod, if they don't take care of their sod, within 3 years they're going to end up with the same lawn. It's going to revert back to the way it was in the first place. So they're going to really lose their investment, right? They got to think it out. You got to, the first thing we do when we approach a client is we ask them if they like working in the yard, if they like watering their plants. Because if you don't, then forget all the fancy stuff. Keep it simple. We just had a similar situation like that with a owner of a condo complex in DDO, and he wanted us to put nice boxwood shrubbery on the main entrance leading to the street. And then, unfortunately, we do what they say, but, at the time we tell them, look, make sure you water them, make sure you winterize them make sure you winterize the boxwoods before the winter. And of course, there's nobody on site. I mean, when we did the work, it's of course, we'll take care of it. But then, they don't, right? Nobody's watering it. Nobody's covering it up for winter. And then, the spring comes and it's all dead, right? It's, so you got to really think it through. I mean, sometimes keeping it simple is the best way to go. Even if you like the fancy stuff, if you're not willing to invest in maintaining it and watering it and winterizing it and just, the general maintenance involved, it's not a good idea.
So Paul, can we talk about that? Like, what do you think is the best plan for it? Because I think the maintenance thing and the upkeep is such an important point. What do you what's your common sense advice for listeners on things they can do, what their strategy should be for a low maintenance lawn, backyard that they can have for a long time with some work, but not outrageous amounts of work?
Well, number one, it depends on the family, right? If you have pets, if you have young children, if they're using the facility, they're using the yard. You can't really do too much. I mean, and another thing is a lot of people, they have income properties or even commercial properties. I would, income properties, commercial properties, I would just suggest just keep it simple. Just don't get too crazy. And then, for people that are looking to beautify their place and to get into elaborate gardens, the idea is they need to pick appropriate plants. They need to think it out, and they need to know that they have to spend a couple hours a week maintaining it. Is
there a link when I'm thinking about a budget for maintaining your property, right? Maintaining the landscape, maintaining your front yard, your backyard. Is there a link between how much the project originally cost and how much it costs to maintain?
Not really, because if we just start with basic sod, if we just install sod, you're looking at watering it every day for at least a half an hour after dark or in the early morning hours. So just basic sod that you're installing, you need to water it. The same is true for the only thing, I guess, is if you get really technical, if you get fancy shrubs, you're going to have to invest in trimming. You're going to invest in the winterizing them and cleaning them out. But I mean, you have to commit to the watering. I think that's the main thing. Water the plants. If you don't provide the watering, it's just a waste of time, really.
With Paul Henry Danylewich, owner of Paul Henry Landscaping, and we're talking about how much landscaping should cost. Paul, how should someone choose a landscaper? What are the questions you should be asking before you go with any company?
Yeah, that's a good point. That a lot of people run into trouble with that. It's not always about price. I think if somebody's looking for a landscaper, they should pick somebody that they know, or they know at least who does their. I would be asking questions like who does my neighbor have. Look for somebody that can give you a referral. It's not always that you don't always want the cheapest guy out there, because you could run into problems. You need somebody with a track record. Some of the questions to ask, you could find I guess you could find local landscapers, like quality ones. You could find them at your local nursery. You could get a referral from there. I would be wary about the guys that are just operating on their own with no insurance. Just the guy with a lawnmower, because those guys, they tend to disappear after a couple of months. If the lawnmower breaks, there's not much depth there. So we get calls from people all the time, not just at the beginning of the season, but right through the year, where they have people that have charged them for the whole season up front, and then they can't find them. So I think if you're going into that, and I'll tell you, I'll put it out there, like the average lawn in Montreal, at least in the West Island here, I've seen guys cutting grass for as low as $35 per cut, and as much as maybe $65, $70 per cut. So there's a wide range there. And I think one of the most important things is if somebody wants to get somebody to cut their grass, and it might sound like really basic common sense, but a lot of older people get taken advantage of. They hire guys that charge that rate and end up using the client's lawnmower, and that's really weird. I mean, if you're hiring somebody to cut the grass, they need to have their own tools. They should have liability insurance in case they do something or break something on the property that's sizable. And never give all your money up front. They should be doing like maybe give them half the money now, and then half at the end of the season or later on in the season, once you establish a solid relationship and you see that they're consistently coming and cutting the grass and doing what they're supposed to do.
Paul?
Because a lot of times, I see it all the time. We get calls again, like June, July, even in August, where people, especially seniors, they can't find the guy, and they gave the guy $500, $600, $700, $800, $900 to cut their grass, and they can't find him. He disappeared, gone. Right? So it's like anything else. You gotta just be a little bit cautious and be careful with how you spend your money.
Paul, I'll wrap up with a question I often ask on this segment, no matter what we're talking about in a particular week. When it comes to landscaping, do you get what you pay for?
I think you do, but you got to find the right fit. You got to find, and believe me, not all it's not all in the landscaper. Some customers are totally unreasonable as well. So you get what you pay for, but you got to look around, and you got to take time to find the good guys out there, because there's a lot of different types of landscapers. Right?
How long have you been doing this, Paul?
I've been doing this for 15 years. I used to work for the government before that, and I used to be a teacher before that. So I got into this because my son wanted a part-time job when he was 12 years old, and nobody would hire him, and that's how it started. And now we turned it into a business where we have 5 trucks and 15 guys. And
you love it?
I love it, and you know what? We're kind of special. We do a lot for the community. We like to give back, and I just like to take a moment. There's an organization out there called the West Island Mission. It's a food bank in Dollard, and we're putting together a special event for them. We're putting together a country concert at McAllen's Pub on June 26th. It's to raise money for the food bank. There's a lot of needy people out here on the West Island that rely on them, and we decided to help them out to raise some money for them, and we're having a country concert. It's the band is called the Bounty Hunters, and we're hoping that we can get the word out. McAllen's Pub, June 26th. Tickets $35, and we'd love it if we could get some of your listeners out there to support our cause.
Well, Paul, let this mark the beginning of the buzz for the June 26th concert. Paul, thanks for coming on today. Really do appreciate it.
Elias, thanks so much for having me. I listen to you all the time, and it's kind of exciting to be on your show.
Awesome. Paul,
you're doing a good job.
Awesome. Thank you, and thank you for joining our listeners this morning. Paul Henry Danylewich, and he's the owner of Paul Henry Landscaping.
Pride is like love. You feel it in your heart. iHeartRadio, Canada's #1 streaming app for radio and podcasts, including iHeart Pride Canada, your favorite hits, and must-have party bangers, plus personalized and curated playlists like Back in the Day Pride.
Come together, celebrate love.
Take Pride with you, anytime, anywhere. Just ask your smart speaker to play iHeart Pride Canada. Stream us on your phone or listen now at iHeartRadio.ca.